So I picked up this 2012 Ford Fiesta, and it's got some transmission issues like most of these do. So it's been sitting for a very long time, at least a year or so. The serpentine belt was so dry rotted, whenever I tried to pull it off of the trailer, it shredded the serpentine belt. And I'm worried that the timing belt's going to do the same thing. The people that I bought it from had owned it for a while, and they couldn't ever remember having a timing belt put on it. So I'm going to do a timing belt, and then I'm going to start to try to diagnose the transmission issues after I know that it's safe to drive it. I'd hate to be driving down the road and the timing belt shred, and then I wind up having to put an engine in this car as well as do transmission repairs. So I'm gonna get it jacked up and on some jack stands, and I'll be back. Okay, now we got the car up on jack stands. I've removed the front right wheel, and we're going to start trying to get some of this stuff out of our way so we can get to the timing belt. We're going to start with the degas bottle, which should be a lot easier than this to remove. You shouldn't have to take apart. Oh, it's not that. That's fine. It's been broken already once anyway. You can see it's been patched up. That out of our way. Take this out of our way. It's 10 millimeter holding this bracket right here. Okay, now that's out of the way. We're gonna remove the front motor mount or the side motor mount and bracket. We can stop that from pouring out coolant. Make sure you have the engine supported with a jack or jack stand. If you're going to use a jack stand, or if your jack doesn't have the rubber pad on it, it's probably best to use like a piece of like 2x4 or whatever kind of wood you might have laying around to put between the oil pan and the jack or jack stand. Those two were 18s. This is a 15 millimeter. And then looks like those are also 15s. Gonna take one of these hose clamps and put it on this hose right here. I'm just gonna get this bottle completely out of the way. Some mini vice grips or channel locks for this hose. Slide it out of the way. Hose clamp. I'm gonna lose a little bit of coolant, but it's not a big deal. Oh, that comes out a lot further than I thought. Okay, now that our battery's unhooked, we need to remove our alternator. This bracket has to come out of the way, but first we're gonna take the upper part of the timing cover off. Let me get the water pump pulley off too. There's 4 10mm bolts on it. Water pump pulley. The other bolt. And now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I believe 9, 10 of this cover bolts. I'm gonna work this upper cover off. There, you can see 1, 2, 3 on the back side, and then 4, 5, 6. 6 is underneath this cover. And then you got to pull the water pump pulley off because of these two. One's above it and one's below it. And then you have one right over here in plain sight. So that comes to a total of 10 on the upper cover. Alrighty, so we got to pull this bracket right here off. And it does look pretty rough. Get in here, you can see the timing belt is looking pretty rough. Doesn't have a whole lot of slop in it, but it looks like it's been on there for a while. It may have been changed once. I think this may be the Gates number, but we'll find out anyway. Next, we're gonna start by removing this alternator. Got one bolt below it, and one bolt on top, and a stud with a nut on it. The stud, I think it's easier to remove the stud. Let's get some power to do this with. then we have this bolt. This nut. And then I believe the charge wire is a 13 or a 14. And it's right over here. It's a 13. All of these, the nut and the 2 bolts are 15s, by the way, if I didn't say that before. Make sure your battery is unhooked before you go digging around in here with this wire. It will be hot if you don't unhook your battery. Let's see if that'll come loose with a pair of channel locks, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna have to dig around and find my. It is also an E8 external Torx if you want to do it the right way, or if yours is just really stuck in there. Sometimes they can be so stuck that you just twist that head right off of there. But with these AC lines in the way, it's kind of hard to get this alternator off. Uh-oh, got a little rat's nest. And then we have a plug down here. Not sure why that's so tight down there. All right. And then you are free to get at this bolt right here, and I think there's one more right here, and that should cover it for this bracket that the front engine mount bolts do. This one will be a 13. This one over here is also a 13. We'll need to dig the rest of that rat's nest out of there so we don't look at any fires. Oh, I think there's one more, I guess. should pull off, and you can see where I was missing that other bolt right there. It's in that little hidey hole. Okay. Now y'all can see the timing belt. So there is a toolkit that you have to buy. I'll put a link in the description to the Amazon toolkit that I bought, and here in just a second I'll go dig it out and show you. So this is the toolkit that you need for the timing, to lock all the timing gears and components together while you're doing your timing belt. I got it off of Amazon for like 85 or 90 bucks a while back. I haven't checked to see if it's the same price or not, but it comes with a lot of extra stuff that you need for other cars as well. The Focuses, and there's like a whole list of cars on there whenever you look through the pictures on Amazon. But the main tools that we're going to be using out of this is this. This is the locking pin that goes in the back of the block to stop the crankshaft where it needs to stop. This is the flywheel locking tool. It bolts in where the starter is supposed to go and grabs the flywheel. And then this is the camshaft holder. It holds the phasers on the camshafts. So I'll put a link to this. I don't know if I already said this or not. I can't remember, but I'll put a link in the description for this toolkit, or you can just get on Amazon and look up Ford Fiesta timing kit. And I think you can buy a smaller kit that just has like these 2 or 3, maybe 4 pieces. If you're doing valve seal or camshaft seals with yours, this is the tool you'll need, because you pull the valve cover off and there's slots in the back of the camshafts. You can slide this tool into those slots and pull your cam gears off to replace your seals. I'm not doing that on this one. They're not leaking, and I don't want to go any further than I need to. So yeah, now we'll get back to working on the car. You're gonna want to turn your top timing marks to roughly 11 o'clock. You see I've highlighted this dot in this line or slot with the silver Sharpie. And then we're gonna go down, take our plug out of the back of the engine and put the crank stop in. This is the plug that we need to pull out to put the crank stopper in. Want to get our, I believe it's a 10 millimeter, I can't remember. Yep, 10 millimeter. Break it loose. This should be below the oil level, or above the oil level. My bad. Pull that out. You can see the hole there. Grab our crank stopper. Might have to pull the axle out of the way a little bit, or I might be able to wiggle this in there. No, it'll wiggle in. We'll screw that in. And then rotate the crank. Clockwise until it bumps that. We should also see our top 2 timing marks line up. There it is. It's up against it solid. And then we're gonna go pull the starter out and put our flywheel lock in there and our camshaft lock, and we will remove the crank pulley. All right, so this is your exhaust cam, this is your intake cam. The exhaust cam sticks out a little further than the intake cam. This is the tool that locks these in place while you're replacing the timing belt. You're gonna slide this on. Oh, I say you're going to. Slide this onto your exhaust cam first. Mine, of course, it's just a cheap Amazon kit, so it doesn't always fit exactly. So I have to just give mine a little love tap. To get it into place. It does have an arrow for up on it, and it has an eye and a dot, or a line and a dot. The line on mine goes on the exhaust cam, and the arrow points up, of course. So now we got that in. We'll move down, pull the starter out, get the flywheel locking tool in there, and move back up here. So we got to remove the alternator. The starter. We got to remove the starter. There are two 13mm bolts that go from the transmission side through the bell housing to the starter. So you got to pull the air box out, which you just saw me do, and the intake tube. It's easier. Then we'll take these two bolts out. We'll go down. You'll have to wrestle with the starter a little bit, but you can get it out of the way enough to get that bracket on there. And then you'll need 2 bolts to bolt the bracket on there as well. Now we're on the bottom side. You're gonna unplug your crank sensor right there. And then we're gonna reach up here, maybe, and wiggle that starter out of the way. Oh yeah, look at all that clutch dust. That's part of our transmission problem right there. Now, the factory bolts for the starter are 10 by 1.5. I just went to Home Depot and got some 10 by 1.5 nuts. We'll slide our crank locking tool, our flywheel locking tool, up in there. Hopefully. Let's see if we can get a nut started on it with one hand. This one does not reach. That's unfortunate. Well, I'll get the other one in there and I'll bring you right back. When I was talking about it's not the right length. I was talking about this little piece here. It bolts to this plate and sticks out and catches the teeth of the flywheel in between two of the teeth right here, and keeps the crank from spinning on you while you're trying to get the timing belt set correctly. I got the right one in there now. As you can see, both of the starter bolts, 10 by 1.5 nuts. That's what size the starter bolts are. And then on my kit, this is a 13 or a 1/2 inch that bolts this piece in there. And I got it set. Once you bolt this in there, it's got a little slide and you can kind of feel it just fall in between a couple of teeth. Make sure that your crank is turned up against your pin over there. Lock everything down and you're good to move on to the next step. Now we're back on the front side of the engine, or in the side of the car, front passenger wheel well area. We're gonna take the crank bolt out. It's an 18mm socket, and then use a puller to pull the crank pulley off. And then there's another piece of the timing cover behind it. Sorry, earphone users. I did break that loose earlier. It was not that easy. Hopefully we can just wiggle it off of here now. Oh, yep, here we go. All right. Let your crank pulleys off of there. Now that your crank pulley's off of there, God, no, I knew they would go all the time. And now that your crank pulley's off of there, let's take these bolts, these three 8mm. And whenever I'm telling you the sizes, I'm telling you the size of the socket. Now that we're back topside, I've jacked the engine up a little more. Actually, I'm going to bring it up just a hair more. Gonna reach down in here. Take your tensioner pulley loose. You should be able to pull your belt off now. This belt's not in bad shape, but it is an OEM belt, as you can see with the Fomoco right there. So that doesn't tell me if it's ever been changed or not. It could have been serviced at the dealership, but that's you know, up in the air. I don't know for sure, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to spray some of this old brake dust off of here with some brake cleaner and take a little trip. Did I say brake dust? And belt dust. Brass wire brush here just to do some scrubbing. Get a little compressed air. Now we'll start reinstalling the new belt. I picked up this Gates Power Grip kit from Rock Auto. That's the only place I could find it for a decent price. I really don't like ordering from Rock Auto because their return policy sucks, and they're just generally not fun to deal with. But there's the part number. I couldn't really find it anywhere else. The parts stores wanted an outrageous amount for this, just a timing belt and a pulley. And Ford couldn't get me the OEM belt in the time frame that I needed. We're going to start on our crank. There are no timing marks on this, or no lineup marks. What the heck? Gonna go to our cams. We get our tensioner put back on here. The new tensioner comes with a pin in it. And it's got a dowel here, or not a dowel, but like the piece of metal that goes into this square right here on the water pump. Alright, once you got your timing belt wrapped around, you should have some pretty good tension between the cam pulley. All of your slack should be wrapped toward the back, so you know the crank gear on this isn't splined. So once you get around this front pulley, you're going to want to kind of hold some tension on it, wrap it around your exhaust pulley, then come back and around your your tensioner pulley, then make sure that you let that pull the slack. See how that's loose and doesn't have any tension on it? That means everything should be good. So I'm going to tighten down the tensioner pulley gotta make sure it's not completely tight yet. I just want to get it snugged up. Make sure that our belt is nice and straight and on the pulleys where I want it. I like to try to, these belts are narrow for some reason, so I like to try to put it about halfway back on the belt. And then we're gonna pull our pin. That'll pull all the tension. Go around and feel it. Make sure you like it. Tighten your tensioner. Now we've got our lower cover back on and slid our crankshaft pulley back on. And I did get a new bolt. These are stretch bolts, and I just didn't want to risk it. So it was like $11 or $12 at the dealership. I think it was like right at $12. So for $12 and some peace of mind, why not? The torque spec for this is torque it to 74 foot-pounds, and then 90, you need to turn the bolt 90 degrees, wait 2 seconds, and then another 15 degrees, which is going to be hard to do right here, but we'll give it a shot. I already have my torque wrench set to 74 foot-pounds. They say that you should be able to do this with the pin and the flywheel tool installed, flywheel holder installed, but just for some added safety, I think I'm going to try to use this band wrench. And yes, it did come from Harbor Freight. All right, there's the 74 foot-pounds. This thing's making me a little nervous. So we're going to make some marks on our bolt. We'll say here is where it's at, and then we'll go 90 degrees roughly in that area. So there's our 90 degrees roughly, and then we'll make another mark at roughly like 15 degrees. And that should have been 2 seconds by now, so one more try. All right. A little bit more. All right, that should be it there. Now we'll take all of our pins out and holders, spin the engine around, make sure it lines back up at TDC, and put it back together. did go to Ford and pick up this new line. It's the one that goes, it's for the degas bottle, and I'm going to swap that out now. It's got this little rubber hose that goes to the back of the block, and I got some get our battery hooked back up. Get all the tools off the engine. And now we'll see if she wants to start up for us. I picked this kit up from O'Reilly's. It's got 2 pieces in it with instructions on how to use it. There's the instructions. Basically, get your belt wrapped around all of your accessory drives, water pump, alternator, AC if you have it on this car. Take the install tool with the little notch right there, put it in with your belt, wrap it tight, and then, well, I thought I had a ratchet down here. Give me just 1 second. I did have a ratchet down there somewhere. Get it wrapped around. Make sure it's on all your other pulleys the right way. Put a ratchet on your crank. Bolt. And turn. It should go on. Or should start going on. Oh, this is going to be difficult. Oh. Sometimes that'll happen. Then you got to fight with it. rotate it around a few times, make sure it goes on all the pulleys. There you go. Now it's on everything. Well, that's how you do it. Fun, fun. Well, she's purring like a kitten. One job complete on this. I'm going to have to still, I'm probably going to wind up having to pull the transmission out, and that'll probably be a part 2 to this. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching. If you would, like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything, just put it down there. Thanks.